Good evening. There are some places that seem to belong to the daytime. Cafes, railway stations and little corner shops. Then there are the places that quietly ignore the clock. Tonight, I'd like to take you somewhere very few people ever notice. It's a small, independent bookshop tucked away on an old side street. By all rights, it should have closed hours ago. The lights should be off, the doors should be locked. But tonight, the warm light is still shining through the front window, and just for tonight, the door has been left unlocked. You push the door gently. The little brass bell above the room rings once. Then everything becomes wonderfully quiet again. The owner looks up, smiles warmly, and returns to the book he's reading, as though he'd been expecting someone all along. "Take your time," he says quietly. "There's no rush in here." The first thing you notice isn't the shelves. It's the smell. People often call it the smell of old books, but there's a reason for it. As paper grows older, the natural fibres inside it slowly change. Tiny compounds are released over the years from paper, the ink and the bindings, creating that familiar scent. So, many people recognise the scent the moment they step into an old bookshop or library. It's impossible to recreate it properly. It only arrives with time. Thousands of books, thousands of journeys, thousands of readers. You breathe slowly. Somewhere further into the shop, an old clock quietly marks another minute. Not because anyone's in a hurry, simply because that's what clocks have always done. The shelves aren't arranged in perfect order. History leans comfortably against gardening. Astronomy has somehow found itself beside poetry. Travel books share a shelf with old collections of myths and legends. It's the sort of organisation that only makes sense when the person who's lived with these books knows where they are. You run a finger gently along the spines. Some are smooth, others have softened with decades of careful reading. One has a folded train ticket tucked inside. Another still contains a handwritten birthday message from 1987. Someone once wrapped this book for someone they loved. Now, years later, it's quietly waiting for its next reader. You stop beside a shelf marked simply folklore. Stories that existed long before they ever were written down. For centuries, people gathered around fires at the end of the day, telling tales that travelled from village to village. Every storyteller remembered a different detail. Every family added something of their own. That's why old folklore rarely exists in just one version. The stories grew because people carried them with them. Perhaps that's what makes them feel so alive now. The owner notices you looking. He smiles. Those are my favourites. You nod. You think they might become yours too. Further along the shop, a little handwritten card reads, "Books worth returning to." Not books you rush through. Books that somehow become different every time you read them. Perhaps that's true of places as well. Some places don't impress you because they're not spectacular. They become special because they quietly welcome you back. Independent bookshops seem to have that mastered feeling. Nobody expects you to hurry. Nobody asks what you're looking for. Sometimes, the greatest luxury is simply being left alone with your own curiosity. Near the back of the shop stands an old wooden ladder. It slides slowly along polished rails, allowing someone to reach the highest shelves. The wood has become smooth where countless hands have held it over the years. Above, the oldest books sit patiently together. Some haven't been opened for decades. Others are borrowed surprisingly often. Books have curious lives. Some become famous. Others quietly change one person's life and are never spoken about again. Neither seems more important than the other. Eventually, one particular book catches your eye. Not because you're looking for it, simply because it seems to find you. The owner wraps it carefully in brown paper. He ties a simple bit of string around it with practiced hands. It's a small kindness, one that only takes a few extra moments. Yet, somehow, it makes the book feel like a gift. As he hands it across, he smiles once more. Come back whenever you like. Not as a shopkeeper, as someone who's quietly keeping a place safe for people who need it. You step back outside. The street is still silent. The bell above the door rings once as it closes behind you. For a moment, you look back. The warm light still spills gently onto the pavement. Inside, the owner has returned to his chair. Another page turns. The old clock continues to steady its rhythm. The books remain exactly where they've always been, patiently waiting for whoever happens to need them next. Perhaps one evening, when the world feels just a little bit too hurried, you'll find yourself wandering back, and you'll discover the little bookshop that never truly closes.